Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to a new League of Legends video. For this video, I'm pretty excited to announce that I will be finally bringing back my tips and tricks video series. And the point of this series is to give you guys some sweet tips and or tricks that you can use in your next game. I usually will try to make the videos as short as possible. Some videos can have 3 small tips or 1 big tip. But for this one, I will be talking about 3 different ones. So if you guys have any suggestions on how I can improve this series, you can definitely write it in the comments below. But let's go straight to the first tip. This one is a way that you can trick the NPCs, so like dragon or any monsters in the jungle, and it will pretty much have them not attack you. Now this trick mainly does work on ADCs or marksmen, because you will need to have a certain amount of auto attack speed in order for this trick to work. So right now you saw me doing it with dragon, obviously dragon dealing quite a bit of damage to me, and right now you see me doing the trick and it works decently well, but not as efficiently as it could be with more attack speed. So let's get into how this trick works. Let's take the double golems as the example. The first thing to find out is how far will the minion run before it resets going back to the camp. And as I freeze the video, you can see that around this area is when the golems begin to lose the aggro and start running back to the camp. So this is what we're gonna call the hotspot, and you wanna try and keep the golems around the hotspot while auto attacking them. So let us resume the clip and this time see it in action. I'll pull out the golems once again, and this time I'm attacking them around the area as they're about to reset. And from what I've noticed, around 1.4 if not more attack speed for the jungle monsters, you can do this pretty easily. The more attack speed, the easier it is, because all you're doing is re-aggroing the minions every time they de-aggro to go back to their camp, effectively making them go back and forth not really knowing where they should go. And I will show this trick with every single jungle monster so that you guys can see that it does work on everything. The one that it can be slightly more difficult to do with is the white, because its attack animation is ranged, while the rest of them are in melee range. So as I'm showing the rest of the camps, I'm not going to be showing the first part where I show where the camp resets. I'll just assume that you guys get the idea. So I'll just fast forward through each of the camps, so once again you guys do see that it is possible, and you'll get the rough idea of where you can reset the minion. And as you'll see the next one, the white, it is a bit more clumsy because it does attack in a ranged form, but it is still very possible. So the jungle minions are pretty easy to duel with, but the harder one is dragon. One thing you can notice is that I stand really close to that little plant within the water, but you can see that I'm using Jinx for a reason, because she can get more attack speed than other ADCs at a certain level thanks to her Q. And right now with about 2.00 attack speed with her Q maxed out, it is pretty possible to do the dragon. You can see I'm barely taking any damage, but it did reset quite a few times. So I got a bit more attack speed and I tried it once again. This one it was a bit better, but overall still the same result. Even with 2.44 attack speed, the dragon still seemed to reset twice. But you can see that I was able to do it without taking almost any damage. So this tip is pretty neat and it's really nice to do with ADCs, especially when you can solo dragon mid to late game, or if you're low on HP and you really want to finish off the camp. Let's move on to the number 2 tip of this video, which also will incorporate Dragon and Baron, but this time specifically for Draven. So if you do play Draven every now and then, or you even main this champion, don't you hate it when you're doing Dragon or Baron with your team and you have to keep running side to side, always catching the axes while trying to help your team down the Dragon or Baron? It can not only be pretty annoying to do, but it can also lower your overall damage output. Well, here's a pretty cool tip and trick that you can use in your next game to help this problem. There's a pretty cool sweet spot that you can stand at whenever you're doing Dragon and Baron, and a lot of the time the axes will just automatically fly back to you. One thing I want to point out is that it does work on the Baron pit a bit better than it works at the Dragon pit. But still, even standing in this area that I am right now, right beside the sign outside of the pit, you can just stand there and most of the axes, around 70% of the time, will just automatically fly back to you. So you don't have to keep running around, you can always just do the most damage possible, and you can just consistently spam your W every time you recatch the axe. And now looking at it from the Baron area, it is a bit easier. And since Baron is even more important than Dragon, this tip can be even more useful here. Again, keep in mind the axes do not come back 100% of the time, but with the Baron pit especially, about 80 or 90% of the time, they will come right back to you. So take a look at this. I have 2 axes spinning. I'm standing in one spot and they're all coming back to me, except for that time of course, because Baron knocked me up. But if you get really lucky, you can even have 3 axes spinning. But the point is the fact that I'm doing as much damage as I can. I'm not using any effort to consistently catch the axes, and I'm spamming my W every single chance I get. It's more damage, and it's just simply easier to do. So definitely remember these hotspots next time you're playing Draven on the Fields of Justice. And the final tip for this video is gonna be with Annie. So one common thing people do with Annie is that when they have their passive ready, the stun, they begin obviously playing a lot more aggressive. They start to try walking up to their opponent to try and get the stun off to get some more damage. But the opponent will see your stun is ready and they'll play a lot more safer, trying to zone you out and not let you get your stun off. And this of course can be pretty annoying. So here's a pretty neat trick you can do with Annie that will stun your opponent without them even seeing the stun coming. You want to get your passive to 3 charges, and then you want to walk up to your opponent. They won't see the stun on you, so they won't be too scared of you. But as you throw out your Q, you want to use your E while the Q is still mid-flight. This will then activate your passive stun, and then the Q will actually stun. And this will definitely catch people off guard, since they obviously did not expect a stun coming out. So as I slow it down, you see I have 3 charges. I throw out my Q, and as it's flying, I activate the E. And as I do that, the Q that I flew out actually gets the passive stun on it. And like I said, it can really catch people off guard. So this is definitely a cool trick to do with Annie, because again, people can see when your stun is ready, but this will catch them off guard and can be a great way to get some harass going in lane, whether you're playing Annie mid lane or support. Alright guys, so this does mark the end of my league tips video. Tell me what you thought about it. It did last a bit longer than I thought it would because there was quite a bit of tips to talk about. Normally I would only make one video out of the Jinx tip I talked about at the beginning. But don't forget, sometimes the tips in this video will be simple to some players, but this series with the tips is supposed to target a wide range of players, from beginners to intermediate to advanced. So again, please do throw in a like if you guys ended up enjoying this one, share it with your friends, and I really hope to see you for the next one too. Peace!